everybody. Welcome into Seydel Overtones. I'm PT Gazell, and tonight I've got a special guest, and whenever I think about this guy and his music, two things come to mind. First, he has the ability to keep putting out fresh ideas into an art form that I think is a very traditional art form, and it's not easy to do. And the second thing is he's a survivor, and that's actually the name of his group too, the Blues Survivors. So help me welcome in, if you will, Mr. Mark Hummel. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing good, PT. How are you?
Oh man, I'm great. It's really nice to connect with you.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, I think we met briefly once in Sacramento at the spa when it was, I don't know how many years ago was that now, 6 or 7 already. I guess.
Something like that.
So whenever the name Mark Hummel comes up, two things seem to be attached to Mark Hummel's name, and one is West Coast Blues, and the other is the Blues Blowout. And I want to talk about both of those, but the first one I want to talk about is West Coast Blues, and I'm very interested in your take on what you think kind of shapes West Coast Blues sound.
Well, in my mind, West Coast Blues really stems from the historical aspect of the California and West Coast scene, and that is that a lot of Texas and Arkansas and guys from the Southwest moved out to California. People like Louis Jordan and Lowell Folsom, T-Bone Walker, Jimmy McCracklin, they all came out here and they started these small combos with, say upright bass and electric guitar, drummer, saxophone, and that was really kind of a swing-oriented sound that they had. And so when I moved up to the Bay Area, I was crazy about Chicago blues at the time, but I found that a lot of the guys I was playing with were playing more of this West Coast style of music. And so I kind of adapted my style to more of a horn sound. And that grew on me. As I kept playing it, it really grew on me.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, rather than a real emotional riff-based kind of stuff, there's more horn lines involved and more section and more arrangements with West Coast Blues, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I think it's just there's that element of swing that West Coast Blues has that you can't deny. And I mean, a lot of people don't understand that guys like Lil Walter were really basing their sound off of the horn guys.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, when I first heard Lil Walter, one of the things that really knocked me out is the sound that almost sounded like an electronic saxophone when he amplified the harmonica. And it swung like mad.
Oh, yeah.
And in my mind, I mean, if you don't swing on blues harmonica, to me, you're kind of missing the point.
Yeah.
Because it really is, there is a certain sense of swing that comes out of it if it's played correctly.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that I like about, your stuff. The other thing is that people always, and this is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Mark Hummel, Blues Blowout. And I mean, this has been around a long time. I mean, is it like 89 or 90 or 91?
I started them in 91, so it's been 25 years.
25 years, man. Congratulations. Wow.
Thank you.
I mean, that's a long time.
It is a long time.
How did it kind of, I mean, did it just kind of organically start as an idea and then, kind of grow from there, or what happened?
It was really kind of a fluke in a way, because there was a guy around here that did a thing called the Battle of the Harmonicas, or Battle of the Blues Harmonicas, and he did them from the early 80s pretty much till maybe 1990, 91, 92, and then he kind of just backed away from doing them. And so in a way I was sort of picking up the slack of those, because his show featured individual bands. Like he'd have 3 bands. He'd have Rod Piazza and Little Charlie and the Nightcats, and then he'd have, all these different people, William Clark, or, Anson and the Rockets, or whoever, Hollywood Fats Band, whoever he happened to have. But he pretty much had Rod and Little Charlie every year. So I just figured, well, I've only been on these once. Why don't I just do my own? Take my ball and go home.
Sometimes it's funny how that evolves that way, but I get it.
In a way, that was part of what happened, but But frankly, what happened is I felt like there was a vacuum when he stopped doing them. So I continued to do
Right.
mine. But
Right.
the way it really started was the very first one in 91 was a nice success. It was only maybe 150 people at a 200-seat club, but it was on a Sunday night. And the club owner said, wow, this is great. Let's do this every year. So that was really the impetus for doing it.
How do you try to delineate out what artist you're gonna have with you for that thing?
Well, I've always changed up the lineup, and that's been a huge factor in these being a success, is that I try not to repeat myself much on these. Now, I've had some people a lot just because, they're kind of icons on the West Coast. I mean, Charlie Musselwhite has been on quite a few.
Sure.
Some of the bigger names, John Mayall, James Cotton.
Sure.
Kim Wilson and Rod Piazza have been on numerous ones of these. Rick Estrin, because he's a buddy of mine and, he's a great player. So it's really a long, long list. And this year, for the first time, I really tried to make a point of having a younger generation. So I had Aki Kumar on these, Big John Atkinson, Kyle Rowland, Jason Ricci was on these. And so I'm going to try to really bring in the younger guys.
Sure.
I think after this year, because it was such a success.
The best way to keep up with all that is just to simply go to markhummel.com, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and I mean, It's all right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the new album, the most recent one is The Hustle Is Really On. Is that what it's called?
No, there's a newer one than that's released on April 15th, and I've already got copies of it. It's the Golden State Lone Star Review.
Excellent. There you go, folks. There's the sneak preview right there. So
Yeah.
that will be available. All your stuff's available at your website, right?
Yeah, it's available on my website. It's available on my gigs. It's available on Amazon.
So we're going to stop just for a second, and we're going to. I want to feature one of the tunes from The Hustle Is Really On. Here
Okay.
it is.
All right.
Times is hard, baby, and hustling is really on. Times is hard, baby, and hustling is really on. Prices are high, darling, all the good jobs are gone.
Yeah, so that's a tune called "The Hustle Is Really On." That's the title track from Mark's CD from 2015, right? Is that right?
It came out, I think, in 2014.
Yeah,
I think
that's a cool track, man. Who wrote that?
that's a T-Bone Walker tune.
Is it really? There you go.
Yeah, and I did it mainly because I wanted to find that California-Texas connection. And that's a really timely song with the way things are in this day and age, believe me. Yeah.
What model diatonic are you playing on with Seydel?
I play the 1847, the one with the wooden comb.
Yeah, the classic.
Yeah.
The classic. Nice. How did you kind of end up being using Seydel products? What attracted you about their products?
Charlie Musselwhite's the one that turned me on to the harps. And Charlie just gave me one and said, try this out, see what you think. And I was pretty knocked out with it. I mean, it took me maybe a couple weeks to kind of get used to the size of the comb and so on. But once I got into it, I just found, the main thing I noticed was the compression was so superior. And so it was hard not to want to just play the Seydels all the time because the volume was so much better.
I got you. Yeah.
And they were a great acoustic harp. That was the other thing. So I've just found I play them all the time.
There's one other thing I want to cover with you, and you've got this book out, man. It's called Big Road Blues.
Yeah.
12 bars on I-80. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I clicked on the link and went to it took me to the Amazon. I was reading some of there's a short piece in there that you can read
Right.
without buying the copy. And I was laughing, man, because I mean, about every third sentence I went, well, that's happened to me. Well, shit, that's happened to me. That's happened to me.
I think it's a pretty universal book.
Oh man. Well, one of the fun things I do on this program is I toss it to my guest and I say, give me your best either road story or backstage or performance story, one that you like to tell.
Oh, well, I mean, I have one story in the book about a guy that basically cut our pay. I think he cut our pay about 2 weeks before the gig, and we're on the road. We're in the middle of, I think we were playing, his club was in Wichita, Kansas, I think it was. So he cuts our pay 2 weeks before the gig, and at that point, you're not gonna have any recourse. So that night we play the gig, and it's so gig, stupid club, and at the end of the night, he comes up and pays us our half of the money that he cut on us, and then like 15 minutes, the other guy pays us our half of the money. So at that point, I went, "Let's get out of here. Let's go back to the hotel." And we run back to the hotel, and we're sitting around the hotel. And the next thing, the phone rings, and the guy goes, "We paid you twice." And I said, "No, you didn't. You paid us what you were supposed to pay us in the first place."
Let's go.
At that point, the guy got really irate and threatened to come over and bring guys with baseball bats or something. And I think we all jumped in the van and just headed out of there to the next gig.
He was irate because he didn't want to honor his contract.
Exactly. He was irate that he actually paid us what he was supposed to pay us in the first place.
You know what?
So,
you get a bell for that, man. That's a great story.
oh, tell me about it. I've had so many nutty stories with club owners, man.
Well, check out Mark Hummel at markhummel.com. You can see the entire discography there that's available. You can check out this book, which I'm guarantee is a great read. I'm gonna get a copy of it, I think, because I'll enjoy it. And you can check out all the tour dates. I mean, for the Blues Survivors, the Texas, California Review,
Golden State Lone Star Review.
Thank you, and of course the Blowout. So I mean, it's all there, and check all that out. You're watching this at the Seydel website. And one of the coolest things that I've found at the website is something called the configurator. And this is a very cool feature, folks. If you go there, it's in one of the pull-down menus, and it says Start Configurator. You can literally configure your own harmonica. However, if you've got a great idea for a tuning, you can go in there and you can configure the notes. You can go in and choose your temperament, just, or compromise, or equal. There's a bunch of presets that are there that are like for natural minor keys, or natural minor tuning, or harmonic minor tuning, or circular tuning, or augmented, diminished, and then you can tweak them from there. And you can do that on any one of their products. It's a very cool thing, and it's there for you guys to use. And it's been great chatting with you, man. And I know you're getting ready to go out on tour like tomorrow or something. So have a great tour and travel safe.
Thank you.
Travel safe, man. And it's been great talking to you. And we'll catch you next time, okay?
Thanks so much, PT.
All right, man. See you.